Hi, in this video we're going to see how to recognize a toxic colleague. This is especially important for sensitive persons, highly sensitive persons or very sensitive persons, or HSPs, that's a lot of names. Toxic persons have a lot of traits, they have a lot of characteristics, so let's see some of them. We're going to see 6 of them. And the first way to recognize a toxic person is by asking that person for help. And then you will see that that person will say in some way no. So toxic persons don't help others unless it's in their self-interest. Number 2, toxic persons manipulate and twist facts, conversations, anything they can twist, they will twist. So for example, if that toxic person would ask you for help, for a change, you've asked for help but you didn't get any help, and then you say the same thing as that toxic person would say, like, well, I don't have any time right now, then that toxic person would really get mad at you and say, well, you're supposed to help everyone, you're part of the team, so you have to help me. So that's how that person would twist that situation in its advantage. Number 3, a toxic person will try to judge your work without you having asked for any feedback. And this goes gradually, so it first starts with some suggestions, maybe you could write this, maybe you could write that, and then it slowly deteriorates, so it becomes worse. And then, for example, when you're talking about a document with a colleague, then he or she would join you and say, well, no, this is not good, or this is not good. And that can even lead to that toxic person laughing at you or saying really bad words about your work. So it's something that starts very slowly. A 4th way to recognize a toxic person is that that person will always be in a bad mood. Laughing, being happy, smiling, that's not something that a toxic colleague would usually do. Again, this happens gradually, so first, if that toxic person comes into a new environment, will complain a little bit, it will just say a few things, and it can end in very bad situations, like swearing in front of you really loud and shouting at other persons. That can also happen. So a person like that would bring its bad mood to others. Number 5 is that that person will be negative, so it's attracted to complaints, to gossips, and it will try to put other colleagues down, to blame them for things and never credit them for their work. For example, if there's a new colleague that doesn't know where to save something on the computer, then the toxic person will say, well, how long have you been here? And, react in a negative way, so that that person would never come again to ask for help from the toxic person. Number 6, toxic persons show no respect. For example, if someone comes by and says hi, and then the colleague wouldn't react. It's respectful to say hi back when you have someone greeting you, but for toxic colleagues that is not a must. If you're outside of work, then that person might also ignore you when you say hi. Can happen. A toxic person also has no respect for your own time and your own space. So, for example, when the toxic person asks for help, then it will not consider that you might not be available for the toxic person. So everyone needs to be available for that person always. And for the disrespect for space, they might get into your papers and look at what you're doing, when you're not at your desk working. Well, that's quite a lot of scary things that might happen when you're working with toxic persons. Important is to remember that some normal persons, sometimes they show a bit of toxic behavior, like they're in a bad mood. So not every person that's in a bad mood is a toxic person. That's important to understand. But the more you see these traits, these signs, then well, the more it increases the chances that it is a toxic person. So why is it more important for very sensitive persons? Well, very sensitive persons, or HSPs, help, and they're compassionate, which is something toxic persons can prey upon. They tend to forgive, they blame themselves, and they are naturally attracted to negativity, but more in a positive way, like, hey, is it going all right with you? So that makes them easy targets for toxic colleagues to release their blame on the sensitive persons, and to really use the sensitive persons well, to release their negativity upon. It's especially difficult because highly sensitive persons will notice very quickly that there's something odd about a toxic person, but they will be like, maybe I haven't seen that well, or so they might let it increase. And as we've seen, toxic persons always increase their level of toxicity over time. So how do you recognize toxic persons? What are other signs, you think? And well, if you want to know what to do with toxic persons, I invite you to click on the next video, which is somewhere there. So see you in the next video.